Because if you're black and mediocre in America, you better leave. Because you're going to be marginalized in this country and you will ultimately be destroyed. Anytime you put the education of your children in the hands of people who have historically oppressed you, you have made a mistake. We have made a mistake. You see what has happened to urban education, and they were in charge. So we're going to have to man up, and we're going to have to woman up and do the work that we're supposed to do, and then be patient. Be patient. I'm going to ask a rhetorical question. I know you know the answer to this question. How do you, or what do you think the reason was that we survived slavery? We overcame slavery. 250 years of the most oppressive, the most egregious oppression ever heaped on any human beings in the history of humankind. How do you think, and what do you think the reason was that we did that without guns or money? Saying anything that you haven't heard before. Except tonight you're going to hear it differently. Understanding that everything happens for a reason and serves us, right? So you're going to hear it differently. That's the most important thing. I'm writing a new book. The name of the book is Negro Please. N-E-G-R-O-W. Please. P-L-E-A-Z. Please. And you know, if you've written books, this is my 6th book. I'm writing number 6 and 7. Number 7 will be out in 2017. Number 6 will be out in 2016. And I'm going to read to you my preliminary notes for the forward. So you will be the first to hear something from this new book. I believe that African Americans are at a pivotal point in history. The world is not waiting for us to wake up to our power. It is time for African Americans to take a seat at the table, not only in America, but also in the global economy. Unfortunately, we continue to place our power in the hands of those that have historically oppressed us, and even worse, we continue to oppress each other. This is the meaning of internalized oppression. To continue to fall into the cultural hypnosis of thinking that white America controls our lives is a true abdication of our personal power. The reality is that each and every day is an opportunity for us to create a new and powerful story in our culture, and unless we find a way to write this story, to claim our power, there will be devastating implications for our community and the world. In other words, there is no one to save us but us. The fantastic news is that as people of African descent, we possess enormous untapped creativity and potential as individuals and as a collective network. And once we fully tap into what makes us tick, what unleashes performance in our culture, we will assume our rightful place on the global stage. Let me say that differently. White folks have done all they're going to do for black people. I hope you understand that. We have freedom, civil rights, voting rights, and public access. We will not be getting white people's money. You will have to kill them first. And
hello everybody, what's up? How are you doing? I hope you're doing super great from wherever you're watching us from. As you know, this represents Jintic Stories, and I'm hoping that you are super fine. Now, this is not for the first time I'm hosting Dr. George Fraser. Dr. George Fraser, he tackles things different. And he tackles things different in an optimistic angle because he sees that there is hope for black people in the United States. But this is conditional. They have to do something for themselves first before them achieving something which is great. Remember, we have black scholars that address systemic issues that are happening in the United States. And that's quite, not quite, but that's really important. But Dr. Fraser's tackles in this is it tries to see now. Other scholars have talked about the plight of black people, the transatlantic slave trade, where African Americans, how they were treated, was not well. Now, Dr. George Fraser sits down and thinks about, now this is the contemporary United States. How can we survive this as black folks? What statutory systems have you put in place to mitigate the problems that black people are going through? Now, that being said, Dr. George Fraser offers important insights. If a black person wants to thrive in the United States, the following are the things that they're supposed to do. He shares insights that I feel like it's important for us to have a discussion about. This video is so important, and I'm really hoping that you're going to take your time, listen to what Dr. George Fraser is going to take, because at first he calls out black folks because he knows really that the future of black people is in the hands of black people. Now they need to take this serious and cultivate everything that Dr. George Fraser is trying to tell them. Now, Dr. George Fraser is a leading black thought leader and the author of Success Runs in Our Race and Mission Unstoppable, which consistently calls for black unity, self-improvement, and economic empowerment. His message is urgent and necessary, especially in systems designed to divide and marginalize black communities. Now, I want us to watch this video. For those who are watching us for the first time, I'll ask you to subscribe to the channel, join our membership and really get so we can offer you. For those who are always supporting me through my Cash App account, for those who are sending me super thanks, just know that I highly appreciate. Well, the most important thing that I can share with you is just these videos, and just tell me if you're okay from wherever you're watching me from. As you know, these are Percentage Unique Stories, and I'll be back and share my thoughts in regards to this. As usual, we educate, learn from each other. Now let's get into it. I'll be back.
You ain't killing them. That means we're going to have to compete with them. And if we're going to compete with white people to take what is most dear and important to them, money, which they perceive as power, we're going to have to ramp up our game. We're going to have to be deeply committed to personal growth and development, constant never-ending improvement, and lifelong learning. We're going to have to be amazing at whatever it is that we do. Now, your parents and my parents said to us that we are going to have to be twice as good to get half as much. You remember your parents telling you that? Well, they were right then, and they're still right. Because if you're black and mediocre in America, you better leave. Because you're going to be marginalized in this country, and you will ultimately be destroyed. Anytime you put the education of your children in the hands of people who have historically oppressed you, you have made a mistake. We have made a mistake. You see what has happened to urban education, and they were in charge. So we're going to have to man up, and we're going to have to woman up and do the work that we're supposed to do, and then be patient. Be patient. I'm going to ask a rhetorical question. I know you know the answer to this question. How do you, or what do you think the reason was that we survived slavery? We overcame slavery. 250 years of the most oppressive, the most egregious oppression ever heaped on any human beings in the history of humankind. How do you think, and what do you think the reason was that we did that without guns or money? Very simple answer.
Well, I think that black people were very tenacious and they had faith in God that things would eventually get better.
Good. But I'll say it simple. You're right. We were right. They were wrong. And whenever you're operating out of goodness and righteousness, you will always win. We were right and they were wrong. How do you think we overcame or we achieved civil rights, voting rights, and public access? 1864 to 1964. It took us 100 years. It took us 5 generations. How were we able to do that? without guns or money. Same answer. We were right. They were wrong. So this is why I know what we're talking about, what this whole symposium is about, will ultimately manifest itself because we're right and they're wrong. It will just take time. It will take time. A couple of things are going to happen, and we're going to have to speak these things into our people. And you heard I said speak them into our people because we learn differently. We are oral, auditory, visual, kinesthetic, and tactile learners. Nearly 30 years ago, I started a company called FraserNet. After 20 years in leadership positions in the public and private sector, 13 years as an executive with Procter & Gamble, 3 years as vice president of United Way of America, and 2 years as an executive with Ford. And then at 42 years old, I pivoted and started my own business after I learned my skills at the feet of the masters at whatever it is that they were doing. In the area of branding and marketing, Procter & Gamble is a beast. They are the best on the planet. What am I most proud of in my 13 years at Procter & Gamble? Not all the awards that I won. I'm not bragging, I'm just telling you what it is. What am I most proud of? The 67 African Americans I got into Procter & Gamble during my 13 years as an executive with Procter & Gamble, of which several are now vice presidents and group vice presidents. Many left Procter & Gamble after many years and did exactly what I did. That's what I'm most proud of in my 20 years of working for the man, is the opportunity I provided personally for 67 people that look like me. I was not, like so many, the spook who sat by the door. So 30 years ago, we started FraserNet. I started FraserNet. What is FraserNet? We are a principle-centered global leadership network of 61,000 top Black professionals, business owners, and community leaders. We are focused on economic development through education, training, and empowerment for Black people. That's what I've committed my life to. Our focus is to train and to educate and to equip Black people with new skills, new thinking, and new approaches for personal, professional, and financial success in the 21st century. We have two goals that we have been working on for 28 years. There are only two things that we have been focused on. Neither of them have anything to do with civil rights or social justice. They have to do with silver rights, S-I-L-V-E-R, and power. We have plenty of wonderful organizations, of which I speak for all the time, from the NAACP to the Urban League to SCLC to the Congressional Black Caucus. This was my 41st time speaking at the Congressional Black Caucus last year. They do wonderful work on social justice and civil rights, but that's not what I'm focused on. That's not what the 61,000 people in my network are focused on. We have two objectives that will take Black people 100 years to achieve. It will take us 3 to 5 generations to achieve these two objectives. And once we achieve them, we will take our people to the next level. What are those two objectives? First is to help Black people build wealth that can be transferred intergenerationally. We're not poor, we're just broke. Our money goes in one direction, away from us, and we're some of America's most conspicuous consumers. We are a $1.1 trillion annual economy. If we were a nation, we would be the 16th richest nation in the entire world. But again, our money goes in one direction, away from us, and we're some of America's most conspicuous consumers. And we will not stop buying from people who will not support us. We are addicted vis-a-vis television and advertising in Madison Avenue to consumption. We do not produce anything that we buy, and we do not sell anything that we purchase. We just consume. We are the pistons to America's consumption engine. There was an interesting article on the front page of USA Today not long ago. I hope you saw this article. Fortunately, it was below the fold. It was about black people, baby boomers, us, and our money. And here's what this article said about Negroes in America. The black baby boomers will be the first generation of Africans in America to raise another generation of Africans in America that will not do better than them. So in the 400-year history of our people, Mr. Hill, in this country, we are the only generation to raise another generation that will be worse off. We collectively need our asses kicked. And you can count me out of that. I will not contribute to that egregious statistic. And neither must you. So the conferences and the workshops and the seminars and the websites and all the work that we have been doing are focused on how to build wealth and to manage it in such a way so that it can be transferred to future generations. That's what everybody in our network is focused on. Now, I said 61,000, right? That sounds like a lot of black people. It's not a lot of black people. When you consider that I've been at this for 30 years, I've written 5 best-selling books, I've given over 2,000 speeches, and I've traveled 8.5 million miles. So 61,000 as a percentage of 44 million black people, because that's how many are in America, is but a fraction of a percent. A fraction. We have a lot of work to do. But that does not discourage me, nor should it discourage you. Because it has always been a few of our people that have taken the masses of our people to the promised land. So I'm not discouraged by that. So that is one goal, to help us to build wealth that could be transferred intergenerationally, to solve the economic illiteracy problem in Black America. We are an economically illiterate people, as evidence on how we spend our money and what we do with our money. Let me give you a couple of examples, real-time retail examples. I don't know what BMW does for black people. I speak all over this country, every major black conference on the planet. I don't see BMW. I don't see BMWs in historically black newspaper ads. I don't hear BMWs on black radio. I don't see BMW ads on black television. I don't know what BMW does. I speak at 30 historically black colleges a year. I don't see no plaques with BMW's name on it. I don't hear about any BMW scholarships to historically black colleges. I know what Ford does. I know what Toyota does. I know what General Motors does. I know what Chrysler does. But I don't know what BMW does. But we buy more BMWs, black people, per capita, than any cultural group in America. Let me say that differently. If you're going to give me all of your money and expect nothing in return, I am simply going to take all of your money and give you nothing in return. So here's what BMW tells black advertising agencies. How do I know? Because I was a part of one. When they go to BMW and say, listen, you're selling more cars to our people than some of the best automobile companies in America that are doing all kinds of things in the black community. Can you set aside a budget for special events, for advertising in black media, etc. They said, no, absolutely not. We don't need to give black people anything. They're going to buy our cars anyway. We don't have to do anything special. They're buying it anyway. So we get nothing from BMW, millions from Toyota, millions from Ford, and we keep buying BMWs. That's on us. White folks can't fix that. We have to fix that. So, it's consciousness. It's consciousness. People often ask me, Dr. Fraser, can you give me an example of the intergenerational transfer of wealth right now in your face today? Something that I can relate to. Sure. You have a very bright daughter, very bright son. They graduate from high school and they qualify to go to Harvard, Yale, Morehouse, Spelman. Will you be able to pay for your child's education, or will you stick them with a $200,000 college bill when they graduate from college? That's the intergenerational transfer of wealth right now. You have a beautiful son or daughter. They decide to engage and get married with someone that you really like. Are you able, as Jewish people are able to do, buy your son or daughter their first home? Can you put a down payment on your son or daughter's first home? That's the intergenerational transfer of wealth right now. We must fix this in the 21st century because the overwhelming majority of us cannot do that. What is the second thing that we're working on? We're working on helping black people become the #1 employer of black people by the end of the 21st century. Why? Because we must create work and jobs for our people, because that's the only way to raise up the poor. Jews are the #1 employer of Jews. Asians are the #1 employer of Asians. East Indians are the #1 employer of East Indians. Arabs are the #1 employer of Arabs. And every immigrant group that has ever come to this country understands this but us. We too, ultimately, within the next 100 years, must become the #1 employer of our own people. The Asian population has solved their own unemployment problem by one simple thing: Chinese restaurants. You ever go into a Chinese restaurant, which are all over America and especially where we live, and be served by anything other than a Chinese person? In fact, if you go into a Chinese restaurant and there are 4 brothers working in there, leave. Something is seriously wrong. It ain't a Chinese restaurant. I don't know what it is, but it ain't a Chinese restaurant, because they employ only their own people. By the way, that employment in just Chinese restaurants, and if you meet most of them, I love Chinese food and I always talk with the waiters and waiters. Most of them are in college. Lots of them are coming from China and just immigrating here into the United States, and they need it. They employ about 2 million of their own people just in their Chinese restaurants. By the way, we don't have any of those. We don't have any chain black-owned restaurants. We don't even own the fried chicken stuff that we invented. And nobody made fried chicken better than black people. But we do not own the franchise to fried chicken. So, we must create work and jobs for our people, because that's the only way to raise up the poor. Now, those are the 2 things that we are working on. alongside of teaching and training our people, because that's really what our conference is about. Our conference is a training conference. The Power Networking Conference is a training conference. We do not pontificate ad nauseum about our issues. Our people need training. Okay? But alongside of the training to improve their subject matter expertise, to improve their business, to improve their career path, is leadership training, because our people need leadership training. And so we need new kinds of leaders. We talked about that earlier, Mr. Hill. No longer do we need what I call transactional leaders or transitional leaders. We need transformational leadership in the context of our community. And our transformational leaders are our servant leaders. And our servant leaders, they are the most humble, the most reverent, the most open, the most teachable, the most respectful, and the most caring leaders in our community. And our servant leaders must operate around a new definition of leadership. So I've redefined what I believe leadership must be for us in the 21st century. I think to be a leader in the Black community in the 21st century, you must be awake and alert and dissatisfied at all times. Let me repeat that for you. This is my definition of leader. To be awake, alert, and dissatisfied at all times. Oh yes, we've come a long way, but we have much further to go. Therefore, I am not happy, but I'm motivated by a positive anger directed towards positive change. What do we know about change? We know that you will never change that which you tolerate, and you will only change when you get angry. Malcolm was angry. Garvey was angry. Dr. King was angry. Mandela was angry. Harriet Tubman was angry. We are not angry. If Dr. King would have come back here today, nearly 50 years after his death, he would be ecstatic that Barack Hussein Obama is president. He predicted it. But he would say to black people, is this what I took a bullet for? We are at the bottom of every single statistic that matters in America, and we came over here on the Mayflower. And I don't even want to get into the statistics. You know what they are. I know you know because you're sitting here. Half of our women will not be able to get married. 72% of our children are born out of wedlock. We have more black men in prison on probation and parole than in black colleges. And it goes on and on and on. Yes, we have made significant progress since slavery. Oh yeah. But that ain't the question. The question is, how much progress have we made as compared to white people? Not since slavery. What do our numbers look like? What does our median household wealth and income look like as compared to white people? Not as compared to when we were picking cotton for nothing or sharecropping. Sure, we've made progress since then, but how does that compare to our white counterpart? Well, it doesn't compare in any category you can name. Much of it is from institutionalized racism, systemic racism. There are lots of reasons, and much of this conference is to discuss the battles to overcome those reasons. We must fix this. Leadership is action. Leadership is influence. Parenthood, by the way, I believe is the most important leadership responsibility that we will have in life, and it will provide the greatest levels of joy and happiness, and no other success can compensate for failure at home. I believe it begins there. If you screw up your children, you have just written your ticket to a living hell. I promise you. And we're not doing well with this. So I'm going to give you a new measure by which we can call success when it comes to our children. So, because we've got to reduce this down and simplify this so that we will have a measurement that we can look at and feel that we can attain. Here is a new measurement. Here is the new success today for raising a black child.
Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm hoping that you're super great from wherever you're watching us from. I'm hoping that you're fine. I believe and hope that you are great. Now, there's something that I want to talk about. And I prepared a document that I'm going to be using to present all these things that I'm here to talk about. First, Dr. George Fraser talks about internal solidarity as a shield against systemic racism. Dr. Fraser believes in a society where racism is institutionalized. Black solidarity is not just idealistic, it's strategic survival. Systems of white supremacy have historically thrived on keeping black people divided: light skin versus dark skin, men versus women, African versus African Americans, educated versus uneducated. Fraser stresses that when black people come together around shared goals, they are better positioned to resist systemic oppression and advocate for structural changes. Solidarity builds collective power, and without it, individuals remain isolated, vulnerable, and easily exploited. And that's why I feel like this is so important. As a black person, and remember I usually say this, the only asset that a black person has is unity. Economic integration. First, economical integration, social integration, and then political integration. But most of people start with political integration without social and economic integration, which are way so much important. I'm also going to be talking about economic self-reliance as a path to liberation. One of Fraser's core teaching is about economic empowerment. He argues that black communities must prioritize building businesses, supporting each other economically, and circulating the black dollar within their own communities. He points out that the black dollar leaves the black community in under 6 hours, compared to 17 to 28 days in others. Without financial independence, communities remain at the mercy of institutions that historically neglected or exploited them. By improving financial literacy, entrepreneurship, and group economics, black people can begin to control their own desires. And that's really straight. Dr. George Fraser posits that you get to realize that the money gets into the pockets of a black person. The first thing he goes to do, he goes to buy something. Now, the problem is not buying something, because consumerism is a problem which is happening in the United States with everyone, not just black people. But the only problem with black people is this: the money gets into their pocket. The first thing that they do, they go and promote the white person. They go and promote the other community. Yet they are forgetting about their community, and the circulation of the black dollar doesn't go in the community, it goes in other community. That's when Dr. George Fraser was talking about economic integration as so much important. There is no way we can say we are politically integrated, yet we cannot support the black business. We support the black business by ensuring that the black dollar is circulating within the black community. That's how it's supposed to be working, right? I'm also going to be talking about healing from psychological trauma through unity. Dr. George Fraser also speaks about the psychological damage caused by the centuries of slavery, racism, and cultural erasure. Many black people have internalized feelings of inferiority, distrust of one another, and a lack of self-worth. Fraser's call to self-improvement and unity is also a call to heal, to break free from the mental shackles of colonization and racial trauma. Unity fosters pride, cultural confidence, and emotional safety, of which are needed to rebuild a healthy, empowered identity. The colonizers did a great job. I'm not saying but a great job in ensuring that black folks are divided. They made sure Today, black folks don't trust black folks. So if I don't trust you, it means that I cannot come and promote your business because I don't trust you. That's how it goes. It is crazy that this is happening. So Dr. Judge Fraser begins with ensuring. I was talking about social integration. Yes, social integration involves education on the psychological traumas that slavery had left black folks. I'm also going to be talking about the role of mentorship and knowledge transfer. Fraser emphasizes that the importance of mentorship, networking, and intergenerational knowledge transfer within the black community. He often says, your network is your net worth. Without collective mentoring, younger generations are left to navigate our hostile society on their own. Fraser believes that older, experienced black professionals have a duty to guide and uplift youths, helping them avoid pitfalls and accelerate their growth. This kind of internal investment creates a circle of excellence and empowerment. I'm also going to be talking about political power through collective action. Unity isn't just about economics or psychology. It's also deeply political. Fraser urges black people to become civically engaged, vote strategically, and create political coalitions that fight for their interests. When the community is divided, its political voice is diluted, which is true. But when united, black people can push a policy changes on education, healthcare, housing, and criminal justice. Fraser sees solidarity as the only path to transforming systemic neglect into tangible progress. I'm also going to be talking about breaking dependency and redefining success according to George Fraser. Fraser often critiques the culture of dependency fostered by systemic oppression and the false hope of individual assimilation into whiteness. He challenges black people to redefine success, not as proximity to whiteness, but as uplifting the community as a whole. The mindset shift is crucial. True freedom, Fraser argues, doesn't come from being the only black person in the room, but from the building our own rooms and inviting our people. Collective success is far more sustainable than individual success that leaves the community behind. Then lastly, a legacy for future generations. Ultimately, George Fraser's call is about legacy. He urges black people to think generationally, to build institutions, businesses, families, and cultural pride that can outlast them. This is why unity and self-development matters. They are not just for today, but for the future. Every time a black person invests in their community, mentors a youth, supports a black business, or uplifts another, they are laying bricks for a better future. As Fraser says, we are not responsible for being born into brokenness, but we are responsible for healing and building what comes next. This represented Unique Stories. I'm hoping that you are okay. I'm hoping that you found this video so educative in as much as it's done. The tone in this video is done and business, but I believe that if you're a person who take heed of what is being said, you really know where to start and where to go as a black person in the contemporary United States. So that being said, I'm your host and presenter, Unique Stories. I'm hoping to see you in my next video. For those who are supporting me through my Cash App, sending me super thanks, I highly appreciate the support that you're giving to me. But until then, I hope to see you in my next video. Peace, love, and harmony.